blog. Okay, so it's a full-time job now. I mean, it's a full-time thing. What's your week like? You don't have to get super detailed, but
there's a lot of maintenance I do because the way Google works is they like always fresh content. So you got to go back and like make sure every now and then you update some of your older stuff. So
you're also actively like doing SEO stuff. That's part of the whole game.
Yes, that's not just part of it. That's like 80% of it.
Okay, so for me, I remember you were telling me, I think one of your brothers sent you the SEO kind of cheat sheet thing, and this is before Penguin and before all that shit came in that kind of fucked it up for just having a bunch of content on and keywords and stuff like this. It's like picking gold up off the street, right?
Yes.
You sent me this, and then they changed everything. Don't worry, I didn't like try to do it and it ruined me or something like this, but you sent me this, and then they changed everything. When I got in the game, this whole niche site, it became much more difficult. It all became about backlinks. It all became about fresh content and all these things. So I remember you were kind of getting into it at that time, you know, and it wasn't really working out for you, not so well.
I mean, back then, like I would say like what, 2011, 2012, it was motly about backlinks. So you honestly
had to have... It was 2012 where everything changed. Yeah.
So it was mostly, so if you're just a little guy on the street trying to write a blog, you have to write some amazing content and get that in the hands of editors of other blogs that will post it back to you. And that's very hard. So like the easier way to do it would just be like, make a bunch of blogs and link to each other. And then try to get a couple of those, you know. Yeah. And it was dumb because that's what you had to do. You had to make these giant web rings, or get in touch with other bloggers that are doing a similar thing, and then like all share each other's links all the time, and do guest posts and like all that crap. And Google has kind of eliminated a lot of that now, so it's less now about backlinks.
Is that good or bad?
It's good. It's good.
What's it about now? I mean, but that seems to be the perfect metric. My mouth is all red from the fucking wine.
It's still a lot about backlinks, but now they look at a lot more of like time on site interaction statistics, bounce rates, and like so if you're like number 3 on Google, and someone clicks to the number 1 article and they only read it for like 2 minutes and they click out. And then like they go and click yours, number 3 on the Google search, and then they read it for 20 minutes and they click through to another topic, you know, and then they click through another topic. Google will eventually see like, oh, this article was more valuable to this person, and they'll move you up to number 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. So because it's about quality content now.
Yeah, they look at the user interaction now mostly.
Where before quality content meant people were backlinking to you. But all you had to do was create they were calling it PBNs, right? Public blog networks, right? Isn't that the name? I got involved in some of that stuff. I paid $7,000 for an SEO course that basically just taught that. And so it's about quality, but now it's just about how long you keep them on the page.
Yep.
But you're saying now that everyone's moving to YouTube. Yeah.
Well, also I want to say that like Google does this cool thing too, where if you're a new blog, it used to be how old your blog was also made a difference, because they didn't want these new blogs coming in and like just being like some Ukrainian hacker just spinning content, you know. Mm-hmm. But now they'll do a thing where like if you're a new blog, they might move you up to like number 3 just to like test it to see how people interact. People call this like honeymooning. So if you're a new blog, they might honeymoon your content for like a few weeks just to get analytics from it, and then they decide where they want to put you. So
that's cool.
It's nice. It's getting pretty sophisticated, the Google thing, which is cool.
Because you have to wonder, like SEO. It's like people are still talking about SEO. I'm like, we guarantee to get your page up to number 1. We guarantee. And I just keep thinking, what more can you do at this point? You know, like what more can you possibly do to beat out the other agency doing the same shit? And at the end of the day, it's not that hard to figure out what works, you know.
Right.
Well, there's such an industry on manipulating those analytics. Like, I mean, there was like so many countries that had like corporations that were just dedicated to it.
But that's what I mean is that what more can you do? You have everyone is just exploiting the fuck out of everything. I mean, when does it get to the point where you're actually seeing good content? You know, so I mean, please answer that.
Well, apparently also the Google has they have a team of like thousands of people that sit there and just hand go through search results to kind of audit how the algorithms are working. So if they see like someone gaming the system and they're number 1 and 2, they can visually see it right away, right?
Yeah.
So they might make some notes on that, give it to the programmers, and then they'll tune the algorithm next week to punch those guys down and move like real guys up.
So what is really the power? What is going to really keep you in the long run ahead of the game with Google, with SEO, maybe with photography?
I think now it's like the big thing they want now is brands. So
what do you mean?
You need to build like a brand. I mean, it's like the whole Gary Vaynerchuk, whatever his name is, thing where it's just like,
know his name.
Vaynerchuk. I don't follow him.
Oh, come on. You know it.
Vaynerchuk. Vanderchuk.
Vanderbilt. All right, go
Vanderbilt.
Jack Steffen.
Steffen.
Vander Holyfield.
Jack Stephanopoulos. All right, go ahead.
So they really want brands. So it's no longer just a thing where you have to have a presence on a website. You have to be everywhere all the time. Like you have to be on YouTube. You got to be on social. You got to be on like your blog. And they look at a lot of like people outside of your blog talking about you. So they want to see like your name appear or your brand appear in other places all the time. People having conversations.
And what makes your brand have conversations? You know the answer.
That's the art, right?
Good stuff. That's the answer.
Well,
so that's good.
Well, the unfortunate part about that, though, is it's not just good stuff, because people are going to talk more about your stuff if it's controversial stuff.
Sure, provocative.
So
be provocative.
It's almost better. Yeah. So as a YouTuber, it's almost better, or like a blogger for photography, to say a bunch of bullshit that's just wrong. And I see this a lot. And then everyone spreads it like, oh, this guy said this, especially if you already have a name. Just say some bullshit. And that gets spread around like crazy. And that's the problem with the whole that's the whole problem with YouTube right now is you have all these it's everyone, the way their bots and algorithms work, it's like the sensational stuff rises to the top. So you have all these like dudes on YouTube coming out of nowhere that just some random dude in Kansas saying some spicy stuff about politics or whatever. And next thing you know, he has like 500,000 followers, but his shit's just like not healthy for people to be watching.
So what's Google doing about that, Alec?
I don't know. Well, like, they ban people all the time.
That's societal too, right? I mean, that's
societal
like a little
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Springer, it's just like that shit was garbage, but man, it was fun to watch.
Yep.
But really, Alec, like, what are people doing to protect their public rights in America? And what are they doing? What do they do? I can't even remember what the second point. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're making you out to be like some kind of expert, and that's why I like you, Alec, because you do know what you're talking about with stuff like this, and that's always why I've liked you and admired you.
Well, I mean, to do a blog, you have to. It's like you can't fake it on a blog anymore. Yeah. Not anymore. You can't do it by accident.
You can fake a podcast. Let me tell you. Well, let me say this. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff too is like I'll watch these videos about how to have Chris Hemsworth charisma. You know what I mean? And they tell you, they break it down and they talk about all the things that this person's doing. But like Chris Hemsworth is not sitting there as he's talking to people in an interview thinking about like, oh, he said this, so I should say this because then that makes me look like I have charisma. It's just natural for him. You know, like a lot of this stuff. So some people that are like podcasters or vloggers or whatever, they just naturally have like the little talent, right? But you can learn it still, you know. But
so what you're saying, Alec, is it's just natural for you.
No, it's natural for you. No, it can be natural for you. I'm not the blogging stuff. You got to know SEO, but I'm saying like YouTube and vlogging or whatever. Some people just have it, and it's just like they don't have to even think about it. They're naturally controversial or whatever. You're gonna give me a seizure.
Listen, go ahead, Angel.
Well, I wanted to know. I mean, you know, this kind of sounds like a stupid question, but when you take these photos and you're about to put this up on your blog, do you ever stop and go, well, this is a beautiful photo, I love it, but is this gonna get me any more attention? You know, do you ever like have to edit that shit because you just think, well, I like this, but I don't think it's going to do me any favors?
Yes. Yeah. So like that's what I use Instagram for, to kind of see how people engage with stuff. So I've been posting these black and white photos on my Instagram stream, right, recently, and no one likes them. And I think, I got to be honest
with you, I don't like them very much either.
Yeah, no one likes it. And so I was like, okay.
I love those.
Like
that right there. No, that's beautiful. I love that.
But like 86 likes compared to like 200, 300 likes on some of my other stuff.
Yeah.
So clearly people don't like this. So if I was in my best interest, I would stop posting this stuff. You know what I mean?
And what will you do?
Go back to my other stuff. I mean, this is just an event I shot, so I want to get these photos up just to have.
And why did you do them in black and white like this?
Because everything was only lit by torches, so it's either black and white or it's orange.
So here's another thing too. It's just like, I mean, this has also got to be audience based. You know, it's like your audience on Instagram, I think, is going to be very different. Like I don't want to say if you show those photos to an older crowd or maybe someone that with more of an artistic background, I think they would appreciate it just a little bit more. But not all those people
always was posting those. Yeah. If I always was and built my audience around that kind of photography, it'd probably be a different thing.
100%.
Right now that people follow me are like probably dudes that were shooting street photography, and they're like, oh, I want to get better at that. So this guy's kind of like, I want to see what he's doing. But then I post some stuff out from like Timbuktu, Japan, of like some dudes running around with a bunch of torches, and it has no, they can't relate to it. It has no like value to them.
That's a very good point, actually. This is something that always perplexes me about whenever I get started with marketing things and things like this. And what I'm always trying to kind of go for when I'm trying a new idea or something like this, like a business or something, is let's say I'm a photographer. I keep thinking that if I'm going to build a brand or I'm going to build a following, I want to shoot photos that general people will just love. Non-photographers, right? And I'm always thinking, man, before I get a bunch of people rallying behind me who are photographers, I want to be able to appeal to non-photographers and just have a general popularity. But what I've of course learned as I go is you made the point that your audience are people who basically want to be like you. I mean, you know, in the sense that like they go, wow, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to be doing. And this is the guy who's doing it, so I'm going to follow him. So it's almost like these marketing guys who say, I'll teach you how to market. You just have to buy my book on how to market. And then they buy the book on how to market. And then they say, look at all the sales I have from this book. And I'm going to teach you how to do the same thing, except the book that they're selling is how to market. You know, this is kind of like a eating your own tail kind of thing. But I mean, I think that's just the way it is. You're saying that this is kind of your audience, is people who just basically want to be photographers.
Seems like it, yeah.
And is there any reality to the idea of doing something like this, but just having a general populace who aren't photographers really find the work, you know, and to follow you? Are there people like that out there, I should say?
I think if you're like the landscape photographers, you know, and you're like, people just want that inspirational sunset. Do you remember like the photos that would have the caption on them, the inspirational photos? That was like a thing.
Sure. Yeah. Now they're memes. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was a thing. I remember like 2013, 14, people would be like, put a caption on your landscape photo to inspire people. You'll get more, you know. And people were doing that. Like big landscape photographers would put stupid captions on their photos to try to like tap into that.
Yeah.
But
like hoarding out your art.
Yeah, no, it's awful. But I think a lot of the Instagrammers, it's just a giant chain reaction of Instagrammers that want to be big Instagrammers.
Uh-huh.
You know, so they look for guys that have a certain look that they can emulate. You know, everyone's just trying to copy everyone now. It's
okay,
really
so but I mean, for sure. I mean, that's definitely, if anything becomes successful on this show, it's going to be something like that. But I guess when you learn SEO or you learn things like this, you learn basically about many other businesses, or at least other kind of influencer, you know, web presence guys. And that's basically what it is. It's basically people being something that other people want to be, and that becomes their audience.
Yes.
How do you how do you feel about, like, I don't know why it is for me. I always felt, and I know it's just the way it is. I get it, and I'm accepting it more, and actually makes everything a lot easier. But I always felt it was kind of, like I say, eating your own tail, you know, like
it feels a little dishonest.
Yeah, it's hard to call it dishonest too, but is it kind of like, oh darn, I don't appeal to, I'm sorry, I'm not, obviously you're successful, you know, you're doing a fantastic job, your stuff's great, and I'm learning, of course, more and more. This is how it goes. But I don't know. Do you ever think about that?